Hi everyone, and welcome to my Humanities and Social Studies introduction video. Today I'll be unpacking disciplinary thinking in three major areas of the humanities and social studies: history, geography, and commerce. I'll also be exploring how these disciplines are represented in the Australian curriculum and the NSW HSIE syllabus. The humanities and social sciences are powerful because they shape how we understand the world and how we interpret knowledge and how we see our roles in society. By the end of this presentation, I hope to show how these disciplines not only help students think critically, but also build their identities as active, informed citizens. History, disciplinary concepts, and curriculum and critical thinking. Let's begin with history, one of the most established disciplines with humanities and social studies. Disciplinary thinking is in history is centered on understanding the past through evidence and interpretation. Historians ask questions like, what happened? How do we know whose voices are represented? It is crucial to know that the ability to think historically is not innate or considered a natural act. That requires specific instructions and must be learned through instructions. This is vital because history fundamentally involves the analysis of interpretations, evidence, disciplinary thinking, and in history, this is centered around understanding the past through evidence and interpretation. Historians ask questions like, what happened? How do we know whose voices are represented and whose are silenced? According to Saxius and Morton, historical thinking involves several key concepts: evidence, by analyzing primary and secondary sources to consist interpretations of the past; continuity and change, understanding what has evolved and what has remained constant over time; cause and effect, identifying how the events and decisions trigger change; perspective, recognizing that people experience and record history differently depending on their context; constability, acknowledging that history is often debated and open to multiple interpretations; ethical dimensions, reflecting on how we judge and remember that past actions. In the ACARA history curriculum, these disciplinary concepts are embedded in the structures from Year 3 through Year 10. For example, in Year 4, students first explore the first contacts, learning how Indigenous Australians experienced European constellations. In Year 7, they study ancient civilizations, focusing on evidence and interpretation. And in Year 9, they examine the Industrial Revolution and World War One, engaging with continuity and change, perspective and constability. In the New South Wales history syllabus, students move from Stage 4, years 7 to 8, to Stage 5, years 9 to 10. With a strong focus on inquiry-based learning, students learn how to pose historical questions, analyze sources and perspectives, construct narratives, and develop reasoned and explanations using evidence. An example might be a Year 10 depth study on rights and freedom. Students investigate the civil rights movement and Indigenous land rights, examining both the global context and the Australian experiences. This approach develops historical empathy, critical literacy, and the ability to identify bias in sources. Importantly, both ACARA and NASA now embed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders' histories and cultures and across curriculum priorities. This inclusion encourages people to understand and engage with the First Nations perspectives, not as an add-on, but as a central voice in the Australian story. Ultimately, disciplinary thinking in history helps students make sense of how the past shapes the present. It encourages them to be reflective, critical, and informed citizens. Geography, disciplinary concepts, curriculum, and spatial thinking. Next, let's move on to geography, another key discipline in humanities and social science. Geography is the study of places, spaces, and environments and how people interact with the shape the world and around them. While historians look through time, geographers look across space, thinking geographically at meanings, engaging, and exploration of the world as the home of humankind. Geography is the study of place, space, and environment, and how people interact with the shapes of the world around them. While historians look through time, geographers look through space. Disciplinary thinking in geography involves place, understanding the significance of location and the meaning of people attached to the space, examining patterns and distributions and how they influence human activity, environment, exploring the natural and human-made systems and their interactions, interconnection, recognizing that no place exists in isolation, sustainability, understanding how we can manage resources for the future, change, analyzing how environments and socials transform over time and space, scale, exploring issues from local, global levels. The Australian curriculum for geography builds these concepts from foundations to Year 10. In Year 5, students investigate Australia's climate, vegetation, and settlement patterns. In Year 7, they explore livability and place. In Year 9, they analyse biomes and food security, linking environmental and human systems. By Year 10, students examine global interconnections, sustainability, and human well-being. In the NASA geography syllabus, students progress through stage 4 and 5 with an emphasis on geographical inquiry skills such as formulating inquiry questions, collecting and analyzing data, constructing and interpreting maps, and evaluating and human environmental interactions. For example, a stage 5 unit might involve students conducting a fieldwork investigation into the health of the local waterway. They might collect data, use GIS mapping tools, and present findings of how human activity impacts the local ecosystems. This builds practical skills while strengthening spatial awareness, like histories, First Nations perspectives, and embedded through the studies of country and place. Acknowledging Indigenous relationships with lands as a complex, ongoing, and deeply spiritual. Geography encourages students to understand the interconnections of global systems, preparing them to make informed decisions about issues like climate change, migration, and urbanization. These skills align strongly with the 21st century capabilities such as critical thinking, problem solving, and systems thinking. Commerce disciplinary thinking concepts and how it is taught in the syllabus. Another essential humanities and social studies discipline is commerce, which is taught in the New South Wales schools typically in years 9 and 10 under the HSIE syllabus. The aim of commerce is to equip students with the knowledge, understanding, skills, and values they need to make informed decisions as it consumes workers and its participants in the economy. The syllabus is structured around Core 1 consumer financial decisions, where the students learn about consumer rights, budgeting, spending, saving, and financial literacy. Core 2, the economic business environment, where they explore how markets work, how governments and businesses interact, and how global economic forces affect individuals. Elective options include law, employment, travel, political involvement, and investing. These allow students to personalize their learning and explore topics that connect directly to their lives. In commerce, disciplinary thinking focuses on understanding economic and legal systems, analyzing financial decisions, evaluating government and business impacts, and building the civic and financial literacy. For example, students might compare the different mobile phone plans to understand consumer rights, explore how interest rates affect household budgets, examine legal responsibilities in the workplace, or debate policies around housing affordability and cost of living. These aligns with NASA's outcomes such as COMS 5 to 1, identifying and analyzing consumer and financial decisions, COMS 5 to 2, explaining how economic and business activity impacts individuals, COMS 5 to 4, analyzing legal and political systems, COM 5 to 5, demonstrating informed and responsible decision making. This practical inquiry based approach makes commerce an ideal bridge between academic knowledge and real world applications, empowering students to become active and informed citizens. Overlaps between history, geography, and commerce. History, geography, and commerce all offer different lenses for understanding the world, but they interconnect in powerful ways. History provides context for how economic studies, legal structures, and social societies developed. Geography shows how people and resources are distributed and interconnected globally. Commerce gives the tools to understand and navigate these systems in our daily life. For example, if students are investigating globalization, a historian might examine his historical origins through constellation and trade. A geographer might map global supply chains and migration patterns. A commerce student might explore how global economic trends affect local businesses and consumers. Together, these disciplines provide students with a holistic and critical understanding of the complex global issue. Curriculum representation and database. Both Akara and NESA adapt these disciplinary traditions into structured teachable frameworks, but they also reflect ongoing curriculum data debates. One of the biggest debates concerns whose knowledge is prioritized. While First Nations perspectives are now included, they are sometimes positioned as add-ons rather than the central frameworks. Indigenous knowledge systems offer alternative disciplinary thinking approaches grounded in the country, community, and storytelling, challenging Western linear narratives of history, geography, and economy. Similarly, perspectives from the global south are often unrepresented, limiting how students understand the power and knowledge in a global context. As a future educator, engaging critically with curriculum frameworks is key to ensuring all perspectives are valued. To wrap up, history, geography, and commerce each provide unique and powerful ways for students to understand the world around them. History helps students make sense of the past, geography helps them understand spatial and environmental connections. Commerce helps them actively participate in society as informed citizens and consumers. By integrating these three disciplinary actions, we're not just able to deliver curriculum content, we're developing critical thinkers, ethical citizens, and problem solvers who can engage in complex real world issues. Thank you for watching.